all of the Mrs. Mancini's.
Yeah.
This man dominated that apartment. His last name was on most of the mailboxes at one point.
Melrose Maniacs, we are back into Melrose Madness. This is the spoiler episode for doing a deep dive into Season 1, Episode 5 of Melrose Place, the young adult soap on Fox in the 90s about mostly singles in LA.
Yeah.
This episode was rich with stuff to talk about. This is the moment where I admit that I took the wrong card. Yeah.
It's all good. While you're sorting through your cards, you do your thing, because we realized in our little break that we had not touched upon something that was
let's get right into it. Yeah.
It was Jane's pregnancy test. That I have never even seen a pregnancy test that looked like that. Now, I feel like it's so iconically that plus.
Right.
Or is it the two lines?
And it's kind of a stick. I mean,
it's a stick. And so she had what almost looked like a contact lens holder, and then one little half dome was bright pink. Mm-hmm. It was just, and then that set us all off on a conversation of, very similar to the computer and the technology discussion of what did pregnancy tests look like? When did they even start? When did you first have access to an at-home pregnancy test? It's just
I bet there are people out there in the listening audience who are knowledgeable about this stuff. I mean, obviously we could Google it, but
I could ask my
maybe use this as an opportunity to educate others with your own knowledge. Down below, is that what they say?
Hey,
I don't mean in your crotch region. I mean.
I do.
On this page.
I do. Write it on a Post-it that says Allison's peanut butter, and then put it in your crotch.
So we said we'd take off from a couple quotations, actually.
Yes.
And one of those was Jane saying that Michael either loves you forever or forget it. And you starting to get the feeling, let's put it... what I'm hearing from you is that this episode is the origin story of evil Dr. Michael Mancini.
I would love to think that Michael because he never verbalizes that that's the original sin, the root of the betrayal, the evil seed planted inside him. But something in me, this is like, I like to imagine, the viewer here joining us is just, just as immersed as we are in the Melrose universe.
I think
so. I
think you are where you want to be if you're here with us, and we salute you, because we want to be in this zone like 24/7.
Exactly. So, believing that, what I know about Michael in his entire continuum on Melrose Place, when his sister arrives, Jennifer Mancini, she informs us that the Mancinis are known for their scheming.
This is a family trait.
The family trait of wiliness. So what? And then she also alludes to Michael being the black sheep of the family. So going off to be a doctor, I do believe she references some sort of family business he decided not to be a part of. So in my brain, what we're seeing is Michael fighting his nature, his man-schemey nature. And he's giving it a go. He doesn't know Jane slept with somebody on their wedding day. Or their wedding night before their wedding day. He doesn't know any of these things. So what we're seeing is Michael giving it his best. But what I like to imagine is this whole business of her lying to him, I feel like his little brain, his subconscious Mancini brain, can't help but file away as like, she did something first. And then, keeping that in his brain, you see Kimberly, this beautiful young resident who, does things. There we go. End of sentence, because Jade doesn't really do anything.
No. Well, I like this. I think that you are creating what might be fanon. Like this should be...
Oh, I want to.
I believe that this should be canonical.
Yes.
Because it allows you to bridge the Michael we meet at first, who is milquetoast, neurotic, put upon.
I mean, he's repairing plumbing issues.
And just basically kind of fending off his kooky wife, to being this guy who just is
The levels.
weirdly, like, Heather Locklear was the star, but he was like the beating heart of the show, and all of his goddamn nonsense throughout all of the wives, all of the betrayals.
I mean,
all of the schemes, all of the stupid schemes,
all of the Mrs. Mancinis.
Yeah,
This man dominated that apartment. His last name was on most of the mailboxes at one point.
This is commented upon in World.
He doesn't even own the building.
He's just seated it in a really like weird. I think that we get to a point where like his ex-wives are rooming together, apart from the sisters. I feel like there's another one of those, like Megan and Kimberly.
Oh yeah, the women are constantly counseling one another because you can only understand the trauma of having been married to Michael Mancini.
There's an unspoken.
There's a sisterhood that comes with that experience.
There are conversations you would. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 100%.
You'd have with someone else. You'd have to have the conversations to get you to a point that a Mancini ex-wife could just like, yeah, I get it.
There's a shorthand to their experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, Michael is one of my favorite villains. Like we all to me, the height of the Michael experience is the Michael Peter capers. Like, I mean, I have this...
The jockeying for Chief of Staff at Memorial.
The chess game, the back and forth,
I think they fight over Amanda at some point.
Absolutely.
The least convincing thing Michael ever did was fall in love with Amanda.
100%. I mean, and it's just... The Peter, Michael, Amanda triangle was a thing of beauty, but honestly... Those two men together were just delightful too. There's this great moment that I captured for my Instagram reels off the TV where it's like, I think they had like just hatched some kind of plan together and they cheers their little beer and then they're positioned where they're like, they're drinking their beer. They're drinking their beer in a way that no one would if it weren't like framed for a camera. And I just thought to myself, that is friendship. Like that's beautiful male friendship.
I forget whether I've talked about this on this podcast before, but like, I want to have lived in a reality where there were spinoffs of Melrose Place.
Yes.
One of them being that Mancini girl, because Alyssa Milano would be so spectacular as Jennifer Mancini. But I also wanted to see a lighter buddy comedy about Michael and Peter's best friends.
Oh, I would
just like because late along, there's the thing where Peter breaks his leg out in the woods, sort of because of Michael, I think, and then Michael like gets him back to society, which was like a short walk away.
Is it Peter in a pit?
Yes, and there's just
I forgot about.
That was so fun. That was so fun.
So great.
And
they're always luring each other into the woods, these characters. Like if someone invites you to a cabin, they're either gonna push you off something and try to kill you, or they're gonna just like leave you out there overnight to teach you a lesson.
That all happens in the future.
Take your baby. Long story short, don't go to a cabin.
Cabins are a totem. It's like boats.
Yes.
You get on a boat. I mean, I don't want. But I'll tie it back to season 1, episode 5 of Melrose Place, because in keeping with this is Michael's origin story.
Oh, yes,
I love it. I love it.
Thank you. Let's do it.
I love thinking about the parents. Like, if you actually got to see them, or like, oh, Michael thinks he's so big. He's out there. He's gone straight. Not like us Mancinis. Like, if they were just like...
us Man-schemies.
Yeah, he rejected... He thinks he's too big for our bakery.
Well, yes, it's the bakery. It is the bakery. And by the way, the mom is... What's her name?
Valerie Harper.
Valerie Harper. So, it's Valerie Harper.
And she's great when she shows up, man. She's so great.
Hysterical. And then whoever the dad is.
The Mancini family lore.
Yes.
In this episode, he tells Jane that part of why he is hesitant for them to start a family. As we discussed, most passive aggressive way to tell someone about a pregnancy ever, doomed to failure. There's no good way to do that. That's not. There's no good result from that. I'm just telling you. Like I've gamed it out. I don't want to get into it in this podcast because then I won't get to the other points. But like, so he tells her that like his parents had kids almost as soon as they were married. They gave up their dreams. That he thinks he might be living out the life his father wanted, and that he experienced as a child growing up love mixed with resentment. How's that go? I think that fits in perfectly.
I think so.
I think that just snaps right into the new fanon that you've created.
I think it all works out. This is really, like, listen, you're absolutely right. We're witnessing a Michael Mancini breaking away from the family tradition. He is not going to be tied down like his father was. And I'm really into this. I really like this. It makes me understand Michael more. We never meet his dad, which is completely bananas to me. Because I feel like we meet everyone's parents.
Everyone's
we meet Megan's parents. Yeah. We literally meet everyone's parents. I just now realized that Michael's dad created this monster. Like, we never get to see that. Blew my mind. My mind is blown. We even meet the mom. No one even says dad's dead. We just don't talk about him. That is weird. We don't talk about Michael's dad.
I think that there's this weird thing where the writers of this show are obsessed with The Godfather. Because isn't that Michael Corleone? Like, there wasn't necessarily resentment in that, but like, he was the one who went straight and not in the family business.
Yeah, he was the black sheep.
If you take it from organized, in this metaphor,
yes,
doctoring is to going to the military and pursuing a career in politics, I think, as being a schemy family of bakers is to organized crime. That's what I'm working with here.
Wait, so is Michael's dad? What is it, Beard Papa? The bakery place?
Yeah. Do we have to bleep that out? We create liability for this show by name checking. But yeah. So and then later on, we will meet a character who just has Michael Corleone's story, Bobby Parisi.
Oh yeah, the Parisis. But yeah,
this is like them warming up to just be like, oh, I don't know, just make it exactly like The Godfather.
I just cannot believe we never meet the dad. That is the thing that's hilarious, because it is batshit. Because dads in Melrose Place play. I mean, everything about. Was your dad a schemer? Did your dad steal your mom's fortune? Like, literally, these are
That's just what happens to women. That's
does
what
your
happens
dad
to people.
acknowledge your existence? And so it's so funny that would have bad dads. Great dad, the one great dad. Matt's dad. You know, it's so funny.
Well, yeah, Matt's dad, the bigot.
So it's very interesting to me, because this is a world where your dad and how he makes his money or doesn't, and whether or not he stole your mother's family fortune or not, tells you a lot about who you are. So the fact that we never meet Michael Mancini's dad is crazy to me. Because I don't even think that he's dead. I don't even think they just don't talk about him. It's so weird. That's hysterical. We literally meet Jack Parisi's dad.
Okay, I'm seeing like a missing persons flyer, or be on the lookout for Papa Mancini.
Or was Michael made in a lab?
We will create the perfect schemer.
You know they did. Oh my god.
The perfect petty schemer. Like, nothing ever really works out for Michael. That's kind of what's extra fun about him as a villain.
The best.
So, we talked extensively about Mancini originals, just mostly within the bounds of the episode of television. Do you think there's anything to say long term about now our first sort of sister wives look versus where it will go, like the wedding dress of Allison, and later on there's a tussle about who gets to use animal prints down the line when she's working with Richard?
You're absolutely right.
Right? Is Richard? Okay.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Dick.
That's what I call him.
Jane's design. I mean, she always kind of dresses like either like Arlecchino, like one of those like weird like Commedia dell'arte clowns, or like a mime. from like old-timey times. I don't know when that is. But like, because even her bowl cut looks like the little hat they wear. Like she just needs a little cherry on top, and she's like, but her designs, I don't even remember what they look like. Like these dresses,
they're never good.
They're not.
Another one where
they're not consistent either.
Yeah.
They all everything.
It's
this
not
is
from
not
the same
funky
sensibility.
Evening wear. It's never funky evening wear. Remember when she comes back and she looks like Jane Lynch, and she's got this little like sweater tied around her shoulders, and I'm like, is this funky evening wear by Talbot's? I don't understand any of her fashion stuff. Nothing she does makes sense. Everyone else is so much more stylish.
I think they didn't have a plan. But I mean, like I would compare it to the thing with Allison, where you keep hearing about how good she is, and then when you see what she does, you're like, that's not that good.
I have a theory. I think this is actually about somebody's wife who had like a boutique, like one of those like rich wives whose husband's like, listen.
Perfect.
She's like, honey, I know you're friends with the president of the Beverly Hills Chamber of Commerce, and I'm gonna have a boutique. And he's like, well, baby, what's the genre of clothing? And she's like, funky evening wear. And he's like, but what are all these giant dresses you've sewn together from someone else's clothing line? And she's like, if you don't make this happen for me. And he's just like, the only way I can exorcise these demons is to create this character whom I will then torture for the rest of her existence. Because my wife is really making me fund this boutique. Just a theory. Just a theory.
Jane is the effigy. Jane is an effigy of someone's
tortured existence.
High ambition, low talent.
Yes.
Trophy wife.
Yeah, that's how I want to see it.
Which, by the way, I don't even know. Like, I don't even want to judge someone who marries into money because, you know.
I mean, that's a whole special job unto itself.
If I had any of the raw material, who knows how I would have gone.
But yeah, imagine if Jane didn't have somebody supporting her financially, because I never see her earn any money. She just knows how to lose it.
Her businesses don't work. They never work. Nothing but in between. But for like esoteric reasons. Like, I still can't believe Chris as a character, the Australian schemey guy who turns out to also additionally have been like a crime lord who is running the protection racket
you know what
at shooters. This is the part of I love the spoilers so much because I have these moments of like, oh holy shit, that's actually what fucking happened. It's a fever dream.
It makes no sense. You know what he looks like to me? When you also referenced his mafioso like status,
it
reminded me that he looks like the little weasel gangsters in Who Killed Roger Rabbit. He looks just like with the Tommy gun. It's like that's who he is.
Walking anachronism.
Yeah, and he even wears a suit like them.
So this is the first pregnancy in Melrose, but not the last.
No,
but there are a few children.
Yeah.
I think it's weird that they go to this so much.
I realize that you might not have seen a lot of soap operas. Because
that's what I wanted to.
When you don't know what to do with your character, you give them a good pregnancy scare. Everyone whips up into a frenzy because it's like, whose baby is it? Whose baby is it? And then next thing you know, you've cycled through 6 episodes. Because really, honestly, I'm realizing, I did you watch soap operas at all growing up?
Like a titch. My mom for a while was a fan of The Guiding Light,
yes.
And I think in World it
the Quartermains.
It took place in a Springfield, maybe unspecified like The Simpsons, and I grew up in a place called Springfield, so that weirdly that clicked for me. But I don't think they were doing the really goofy stuff when I was watching. I think it was much more like a daytime version of Melrose Place, where there was like they had an Amanda on that show. I can picture this woman's face, around whom a lot revolved.
I think her name was Blair. They had a lot of Blairs. Okay,
yeah, you know this. Yeah. You know this stuff better than me. But you are absolutely correct that I am not genre savvy about soap operas. My experience with soap operas is mostly figuring out that something I already love is actually a soap opera.
Yes.
Like I don't even want to talk about it a whole lot, but like I think that maybe if you could look at Firefly and Serenity.
I was just going to say, Star Trek is a soap opera.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
It is the biggest soap opera.
Yes.
It's the longest running. Star Trek is a soap opera because also look at the fandoms. There is a parallel of just these long, chronologies of characters and family trees and causation, and
It draws you in.
it pulls you in because there is a history, there is a truth to what happened, and there's a record of it. And I think that's like I think that's why soap opera fans like really really care about why things are the way they are. So I think it's very fun to pull the thread to the origin. Like, who doesn't love an origin story? The fact that it's called origin story and we say it in like these hushed tones, it speaks to the fact that like you're not here for plot device as much as you're here for the people. You're here for these characters because you're like, oh, and then you later, because it's so much fun to go, oh my god, when you were saying about the Allison in reference to, I don't know why I'm blanking on this. There was something that was referenced that you said about, it was very symbolic about, oh my god, somebody darn it.
What part of the show is it? Allison, Billy, or
there was a reference to some literary reference.
The Dickinson versus Hemingway thing.
No, you know what? I'm gonna leave it alone because it may circle back in my brain. Okay. So if we talk about other stuff, we might come back to it.
Break right in, by the way, when that happens.
Thank you.
I feel like you're on the way to something, and I know that feeling.
But the soap opera-ness of it, I will just say, like the things I was listening, honestly, truly, like pregnancy, falling downstairs, like everything they do on there. Somebody blackmail. If you're not blackmailing, it ain't a soap opera. Like everyone's the keeping track of who knows what about whom is always.
Well, and that's something I don't see in a lot of the other things I watch that I love about this is that I don't mean to break in, but singing in harmony, that theme that information is power.
Yes. Because you've got everyone's like people lying to each other and like going and then
and finding out something
Game
about
of Thrones
someone
is a soap opera.
Yes, right. So it's like I'm secretly genre savvy about it. I just haven't like applied the words to the genre. You were talking about how character is central to fandom, right?
Yes.
More so than story, and I think I'm just gonna spit this out and we'll see if you have anything for it or if it's just wrong. But like, would you rather watch a good character going through a bad story, or like bad characters don't make for good stories is the thing. You can't even have that, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, you
can have good characters and bad stories.
You can have yes, because you know what I've learned very recently actually, because I've been developing a TV show that I'm hoping to sell, and one thing that I learned is I think I really struggled with understanding why people did things the way that they did for a very long time in my life, and then recently, as a TV writer, that is so challenging because you have to constantly be explaining to people and justifying why your character is doing
How
certain
did you
things.
get them there?
Yeah, and so I think what happened for me is I then started writing more towards plot and high concept because I'm like, well, my brain works in metaphors, and that's how I know how to explain things to people. But recently I've learned that, like, to me, ultimately people are the most fascinating thing that I have encountered. And so doubling down on that, I have found that if you really, really delve into the truth of why, asking yourself, why is the character doing this? Why? Then they will drive the story. Because if they have a desire, like a really strong desire, then you're just going to get to where your story's going to just get there. It's going to be, good
character and good story go hand in hand.
Yeah, like
for that reason.
Say you're playing some sort of character-driven video game. Mm-hmm. I imagine you spend a lot of time, or even in D&D, like Dungeons and Dragons, D&D advertising, guys. You're building a character. You're imbuing strong characteristics because what you're doing is you're arming this character so that you know how this character is going to act on the battlefield. And so that, to me, in terms of like story versus character, you don't have story without character. So if you have very strong characters, it should be easy.
And in Michael Mancini, we have a very strong character.
the
it's
strongest
delightful.
with no father. That is absolutely, I love that.
Well, and here's another Michael thing, and we can talk about it or not, up to you. But like, when Sandy discloses to Allison, she tells the story of her being this beauty contestant who thought it would be a good idea to sleep with the son of the judge in order to get better placement in the contest.
Oh, she slept with the son of the judge.
In that story.
It's so indirect. Okay.
Sorry,
I was like, what? Okay.
Sandy with the bad strategy. And ... years later, Michael and Peter are judges in a beauty contest.
Yes.
Where the contestant goes directly to the judge, i.e. Denise Richards being very forceful getting with Michael. And then he loses his wedding ring. Where? Left up to the imagination.
Yeah, I mean, it's that episode, though. It's so funny because they always we have a lot of the lusty lady, who's the lusty scheming lady, Lexi, Taylor, and the Denise Richards character. Like, it's always
she was just the one episode wonder of that exact thing.
Yeah, and again, I mean, back to Kelly, like, dude, what is even happening with this child? Because how old is she supposed to be in this? She's so much younger than them.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, and it's, yeah.
Yeah, it's just another. It's
that thing where why you can't connect with Jake the way I can, because I forgive that for some reason.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no. For me,
I need to explore, but let's not do that on air.
Well, I mean, also it just speaks. I think a lot of it just speaks to our conditioning of what we were shown to be like acceptable, appropriate behavior, and what is like not, and problematic behavior. And so it's. I mean, I think this is another totem that we're just seeing is just a really crazy perspective on consent and it's just like, I mean, I think it's important for kids to see this stuff and say, hey, like this was shown as like not a thing to have an eyelash batted at. Like, this explains how Supreme Court justices say years later, I don't get it, nobody else was freaking out, why are you guys freaking out now?
I think that we should go back and look, but it is offhand, I bet there was never a controversy about the content in Melrose Place. Much to your point.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, like that's an angle that you've been really great, not to keep you great at teasing, is the way that what's acceptable in the show, what the characters do, was a thermometer, a barometer, a way of gauging certain things about the prevailing morality in American society at the time.
Or also, conversely, as somebody who has never lived a day in her life where television did not exist, and the question of art imitating life or life imitating art, at what point were we being programmed? At what point, because not to get too deep on it, but hey, I've been trying to get into a TV writer's room for a very long time. And if you look at who has been in the room and who has been deciding and basically broadcasting out to the world, this is acceptable behavior. This is normal behavior.
Demographically.
Heterosexuality is the majority. You're seeing, to me, it's always an interesting question. I mean, we're a very unique age where nobody here in this room was alive when there wasn't television. So we don't even know how much of what has affected people. Like, there are people who have been on screen their whole lives. Like, how does that affect you from a scientific perspective of so many different eyeballs? Absolutely. And so it's just, to me, I know I say it jokingly. I know we go into really goofy places, but these are the hieroglyphs on the wall. And I also think that it's important that we look at these receipts and that we acknowledge moments that weren't treated correctly as proof of hi, this is what we're talking about when we say that the people who are behind the camera are just as important to, putting out a message that is fair and balanced. And, what is the normal?
Representation can't only be on screen, because then you end up with a bunch of people with characters that are BIPOC that the writers of the show don't know what to do with.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, and I don't even know that those writers were writing their truth either. Like, nobody in that room was like real. Everybody was just kind of, everyone was playing with Barbie dolls. And to me, it's just such an, I always want to go back to like, hey, what's learned and what's instinctual? And at what point in your life did you reject the instinct and why? And I don't know. TV is just so, I mean, all of us are here because of it. It's not in one way, shape, or another. We're broadcasting something. So, yeah, that's just me getting really deep on it.
Well, no, I mean, you know, the academic part of me was like, you know, the way that media reflects and also reinforces and assembles a monoculture.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason I guess I want to talk about it now is I think we are literally witnessing the breakdown of the old and seeing like a new way. I mean, people are presumably watching a podcast about two people talking about a TV show and also using it as like a cultural reference point to frame what was happening at the time. It's just, it's really such a meta way to think.
Oh, yeah, no, we are the head of the snake biting down hard on its tail.
Yeah.
This is urobotic. I use the word. Do I get anything, honey? Yeah. But I mean, you're just kind of right. There's the crumpled paper of it all.
Yes.
There's the crumpled paper of it all. In that we have gotten to a time where some of the metaphors that were commonly understood don't break down as well.
They're separated.
Right. Like the idea of, okay, they broadcast television. The word broad, it's sent out broadly, right? Mm-hmm. This might be a rabbit hole, actually. I'm realizing it.
No, but you're absolutely right. Like,
and now you can win the broadcast ratings getting a tiny amount of people.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you know, it's sort of like everyone's narrowcasting now, which is a word people use. I didn't make it up.
I hadn't even known that. That's amazing.
But it's and it's just kind of like how big a band did you land on? I mean, I don't know if we were having the conversation about like who's actually famous anymore. Like there's Beyonce.
But also, well, in my social circle, I presume that she. But I'm also like, I don't know. I feel like there's probably Korean pop stars who might be considered bigger than her. I actually don't. I can recognize that I don't even know for sure if I can see outside my bubble right now, because to me, I'm like, well, yeah, Beyonce, she's like the biggest thing. You know, sometimes shit goes down when there's $1 billion on the elevator, but I also don't know. I don't know. It's crazy. It's a big old world.
Well, so I'm showing some old thinking because I'm really thinking within the bounds of the USA.
Oh, okay.
You know, but like that's better. It's better to think globally.
Well, I mean, I actually don't even know what's in the bounds of the USA at this point, because that's the thing. Like,
I would put money down that whatever it is for Q rating is like grandmothers can at least be like, yes, but that's
my gosh, well, grandmothers, yes, but like
crossing demographics in that way that isn't done. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I say that as like a huge fan, but I'm also like, I really don't even know anymore. Like, Chris knows more than.
Producer Chris
knows about, like, he's way more plugged into like YouTube and how big some of the channels are. Like how many people follow H3 podcasts? It's like millions. But it's like millions, and these are like dedicated people who are like
47,000 live views at watching live when they did their live cast.
There's like people who are so famous. And we would have no idea just because we're not in that sphere, but it's like the amount, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, to that point, and if you don't mind putting more focus on you, Producer Chris, because you have a better understanding of this than me, is the stuff I'm spouting, does that wash this idea of like the metaphors of change, the long tail of it all, the breakup of monoculture, blah, blah, blah?
I think so.
Okay.
There's more niche.
I think I was asking for reassurance, so I appreciate that. I should have been asking for feedback.
I think things that people. I think there's there's less, like, I think you're absolutely right. There's less of everyone having this like shared programming that we're opting into, and it's more of people finding the things that they're most. It's more like people are connecting on topic now versus like geography, for example. Like the internet's.
We went from a
that.
click the. Oh shit! I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. Yeah.
We went from a click the dial society
Yes.
to a search engine society.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then like you're seeing people connect really strongly with one another, and like even the idea of ratings is different because to say how many people watch something, well, if it's a 3-hour thing and people watched it all the way through, well, if it's 10 people who watch the whole thing versus 50 or 5 million, 5 million who watch only part, like the level, like engagement.
What is a viewer like?
Is a barometer. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's great.
yeah, it's becoming more of a relationship. I think like a back and forth.
Yeah. This is why I want us to one day teach a class on Melrose Place.
Yes.
At a university with a decent reputation. So we teased this in the main sort of spoiler-free podcast, saying that we would dive into the quotes, and so I think we really covered the Jennifer's "Forget It" or "Love You Forever" thing.
Yes.
In terms of this episode being the origin story for evil Dr. Michael. Billy's big soliloquy has this weird resonance. In the main episode, I did this quotation from Billy talking about how writers, there are certain things that make a writer, and one of those things is getting into barroom brawls. Okay, Jake gets into barroom brawls. They can hang on on this episode. They go through women like Kleenex. So no one who's a writer likes dick, by the way, built into that. They go through women like Kleenex. Writers,
I was gonna say they're all men. Like,
yeah,
he's literally just talking about.
He's just
men.
it's just so that's Michael goes through women like Kleenex, and they get a drinking problem, which Allison.
Oh, that moment where Allison's like,
I told
"Hey, you don't trust me. You don't want to drink too much," or something like that. Something like that was a nice little harbinger of like, "Oh, girl, you have no idea."
Yeah, that's
but yeah,
gonna be a
she's like,
for her.
"You don't want to drink too much."
And as far as producer Ilana and I are concerned, Jake, Michael, and Allison all kind of destroy the lives of the people they care about the most.
Oh, 100%. And also, Billy doesn't do any
but
of those
Billy's
things.
none of those things.
He doesn't do anything. Not through the entire course of the series. He doesn't even try to do any of them. He gives up on the bungee jumping and then just gives up on everything else ever since. Excuse me. Yeah. I was even saying, like, his relationship with Brooke, at its worst, he still didn't even do anything to get out of it. He just got lucky because she tripped and fell and accidentally killed herself.
Yes, no, he does not. Decisive action is not his forte.
No.
I think we've talked about a hell of a lot here. I mean,
I think so too.
But do you have any other reflections on that thing? I know that. You
got
got something?
a question for you guys.
Please.
Yeah. Who would you cast as Papa Mancini?
Papa Mancini.
Today, or someone who was active in the 90s?
Oof. I mean, I think.
Okay. The easy one for. Should you want to go first?
No, please. You go ahead. If you.
Danny Aiello.
Good.
That is hysterical because
Danny Aiello, Valerie Harper produce, Thomas Calabro, and Elisa Milano. Could that be the case?
I think that's awesome. I am going to throw a really wild card out there. I'm going to say I want Nick Cage doing what Marlon Brando did, where he's got the makeup, he's going full character. They're telling him, "Hey, kiddo, you go nuts," and he's only on for like a scene, but goes method for like a month prior to it. It's just intense, the most intense thing you've ever seen. And here's the thing about it is that in his mind, he's playing the character from him and Danny Aiello in Moonstruck. Their father, because the bakery
he has created he has hooked that story into the
wolf,
MTM.
A wolf, a bride without a head, a wolf without a foot.
Okay.
Combining all of the things I love together.
So
in a beautiful lasagna.
What you said was so true, that everything up to the Moonstruck part, or maybe including the Moonstruck part, could be said about casting Nicolas Cage in any role at all.
He's always
any role you can come up with. Him doing Batman, but all of those things you said.
Yes.
Him doing I don't know if we're doing all like characters who just you could plug Nicolas Cage in anywhere and have him do those things,
I love him.
and it would be entertaining as all hell.
We share as a
Oh wow!
so there you go.
Producer Chris, consider bleeping that out. I don't want identity thieves to have any sort of access to your precious information.
Sure.
So is this a thing? At some point, Jake talks about like, I don't know how you could bring a kid into this world.
He said that this episode.
I think I believe I've got confirmation, and I thought that had an interesting resonance with the fact that, pardon me,
Jake. Oh my gosh.
the fact that later on, like, fatherhood is so important to him when he finds out that he has a kid already that didn't know about it and was denied the chance to be the father to the kid, which he's patently would have just messed up terribly.
You also have to remember, Jake loves attention. So as soon as he finds out there's a kid and he can steal focus, he's like, "What's up?"
You love drama, so you know.
You know.
I think we're gonna we'll be back, folks. Thanks for listening. Do you feel like we've done it? I feel like we've done it.
I feel like we really dug deep.
I think we did it thoroughly. So just thanks for listening. Come back for season 1, episode 6 of Melrose Madness. Can't tell you from here whether there'll be a spoiler, but we're gonna have fun no matter what. And above all else, it is essential that you remember that Matt is writing all of this down.
In fact, I think he might have been inspired by Billy's immediately giving up on his novel. So there's that origin story.
Matt's writing that down too, guys. Everything is a snake eating its tail. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you.
You're right. This is madness.